Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome. We're going to get started today. I want to extend a welcome to everyone that is here and is online. And as we begin today's town hall, I'd like to begin with our native land acknowledgement statement. We are honored to acknowledge that the community colleges of Spokane and our main campuses for Spokane Falls and Spokane Community College are located on the traditional and sacred homelands of the Spokane tribe. We also provide services in a region that includes the traditional and sacred homelands of the Confederated Tribes of the Colville Reservation, the Kalispel Tribe, the Coeur d'Alene Tribe, and the Nez Perce Tribe. We pay our respect to tribal elders, both past and present, as well as to all indigenous people today. This land holds their cultural DNA, and we are honored and grateful to be here on their traditional lands. We give thanks to the legacy of the original people and their descendants and pledge to honor their stewardship and values. With that, it's my pleasure to introduce Dr. Johnson, a chancellor who needs no introduction. She first joined CCS in 2010 and for over a decade has led our complex district that spans 6 counties over a 12,300 square mile area. It includes Spokane Falls Community College and Spokane Community College, as well as rural learning centers, Head Start, early learning centers, and more than 2,000 employees. As many of you know, this is Dr. Johnson's final year at the helm of our colleges. She announced her retirement earlier this year, which will go into effect on December 31st. Chancellor Johnson recently was honored as the top community college CEO in both the state of Washington and the entire Pacific region. To everyone in the auditorium and online, following a short address from Dr. Johnson, we are going to open up the floor for comments or questions. If you're in person, please raise your hand and one of our colleagues will come pass you the microphone. For our online crowd, if you have a question, please submit directly in the YouTube chat, and Dr. Johnson will answer in the order in which it was received. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Community College of Spokane. I want to say a special welcome to those of you in the beautiful Spokane Falls Music Auditorium, and to those of you joining online. I'm happy that you're joining online. This is not a statement about my saying goodbye. I'll do that later in December. But I had, at the request of the board and the feedback we had from a number of resume questions that we've had, and as we've done surveys about the need for communication, the feedback we got that it would help to have some open forums with employees. So it's really a follow-up on that. We had one of the first meetings at Spokane Community College, and so it's an opportunity to do here at Spokane Falls, and it's a real honor to be here too. So one of the things that I'm sure all of you care much about and need to know is I'd like to announce to you a decision that our Board of Trustees has made, and they will be sending a communication, or they've asked me to send a communication to let you know that the board has made a decision about the acting chancellor that will carry on starting January 1 until the board finishes its process of interviewing candidates that apply for this job. And I know many of you are involved in giving feedback on the characteristics you'd like to see, and that the board will consider all of your input, and then their job is to make the final decision. And I know that you will be as happy as the Board of Trustees is, and as I am, to know that the person they have selected as acting chancellor is none other than our Chief Strategy Officer and Administration Officer, Greg Stevens. And many of you know Greg's reputation and hard work and commitment. He has been with CCS over 20 years. He's done everything he's asked to do. He's worked, I think he was originally brought by a former chancellor, then he worked for my immediate predecessor, Gary Livingston, and then has worked with me the last 12 years. He's just a true professional, cares deeply about our students, about our employees, about our region, and CCS will be in very good hands during that interim period, and I know you'll enjoy working with him in that capacity. and that he will continue to work at CCS under a new chancellor once the board has made that decision. The board will also be sending communications and information about all the forums and interviews, and they've appointed a committee that is going to do the screening for them, and that committee's job is to identify a number of candidates for the board's final consideration, but the Board of Trustees is the one that makes the decision. They take input, they interview the candidates that have indicated their interest, and then from the committee's work of submitting 4 or 5 candidates for the consideration, they choose from that group. And then at that time, that'll be, the timeline will be sent out. It'll be sometime in the spring, and then that will be the person who takes over, and that is decided between the board and the candidate of what the starting date is. Of course, the academic years this year academic year ends June 30th, and then the new year starts July 1, but that will be decided again between the candidate and the Board of Trustees what that starting date is. So just wanted you to know that the search is underway, and I have no doubt there will be many fine candidates to follow. So that was one thing I wanted to start with. The other is, and again, I hope to have other opportunities for conversations with you, is just to let all of you know it's what an honor and pleasure has been to work with all of you. With some of you, I've worked for 12 years. Others of you, like some of the colleagues sitting up front that are members of the Marketing and Outreach team, they're new, they're young, they're talented, and very exciting group of folks, and I have not had a chance to work with them very long, but I know that they join a very talented team, and they're here, and they're ready to make a difference in serving our colleges, our students, our communities all across the 6 counties. So more than my comments, really what I'd like to do is to answer your questions. I know that some questions have already come in. Others of you, if you may ask in here, and or you may send it online, and we'll answer your question. Or if I don't have an answer, I'll let you know when we can get you the answer. So I'm going to sit down, but I really would like to hear from you, and I'll just say, you may begin here, and is there anyone in the audience that has a question that you'd like answered first? And don't be shy, including the new colleagues. It's okay to ask questions. Anyone in here that wants to ask a question? Okay, then we're going to turn to what is online, and I'm going to sit back and answer your questions as they're read of what's come online. And Carolyn, do you have some of those questions?
I'm Carolyn Casey, the district's Chief Institutional Advancement Officer, and for those of you who are watching online, it's super easy for you just to type your questions into the chat, and then we'll ask Dr. Johnson those questions. I'll start off with one. I recently learned that the part of New Mexico you grew up in is so tiny that when you went to school, you were in a schoolhouse with only 4 classrooms, and that was for kindergarten all the way through high school, with 4 classrooms only, and then it got even smaller in your town, and you had to drive a mile or an hour away to get to a nearby school because your school closed down. Going from that to running the 2nd largest community college district in the state, that's quite a span of educational perspectives. I guess I'm curious, how did education come to be the focus of your entire career?
Well, first of all, I have to say that it is true that I grew up in rural New Mexico, and that my dad was a rancher, so we had a lot of land, very few people around. So the neighbors were like 15 or 20 miles away, and all of the kids in the ranches rode a bus from our various ranches into the little town that used to be a mining town. And the population just shrank and shrank and shrank, and there was a church, a school, a bar, and a gas station. That was kind of the extent of the town. And then the homes, some were abandoned, some, we had a home there too because of the transportation issues. We rode a bus from the ranch to the school, Hachita Elementary, and then when the student population dropped even more, we were bused from we lived in one county, we went to a second county, and so we rode the bus another hour to get to school, and so Then I went to a middle school. At the time it was junior high and high school in another small town, Lordsburg, New Mexico, that has about 5,000 people. So that was kind of my growing up. Now, I come from a big family of 5 brothers and me. I have 4 older brothers, 1 younger brother, and I always played school, and I was always in charge. I was a teacher. I told them what to do. My brothers were older, and my dad would always say, take your sister, take your sister. So they kind of, my brothers humored me, and they took my orders. So I think that's how my education love, and actually I was a really good student, and I have to say in that little schoolhouse had great teachers. It was all the basics, never had art, never had music. It was all, reading, writing, and arithmetic, really. But they were excellent teachers who really cared and prepared us. Same thing in Lordsburg High, was junior high and high school, or good teachers. Again, not a lot of extras. There were like all kinds of sports, but it was, we were little league stuff, not big league, but it was a really high quality education.
So as you are telling us about the transition coming for the community colleges, what do you see as the biggest challenges facing CCS right now?
It's a really great question, and I think, first of all, I have to say that CCS has the right team in place, excellent faculty, excellent classified employees, wonderful students who are really the inspiration for all of us, a terrific board of trustees, and a community that supports us. So I think there are many challenges ahead, and I think CCS is well poised to meet them with the understanding that changes are going to remain part of what helps us both thrive and survive. And the challenges are not new or only for Community College of Spokane. These are challenges that are facing every industry in the country, in fact, in the world. And higher education is no different. We have to change substantially. I think we went through a big change in terms of shifting from day-to-day classes every day to teleworking and hybrid learning and all online learning. And so more of that will come. I also think that it's been said that we are facing a major vote of confidence, higher education, by the public, and saying, is it worth it? Is all this education worth it? Does it lead to the kinds of lives and professions we need? I would say community colleges, without a doubt. I think we are affordable and accountable, and we respond more quickly. Lots of questions about different institutions and the value and the cost. I think many of you know that the national student debt is $1.5 trillion. That's a lot of money, and that means many, many, many students across the country go to college and then end up with a lot of debt, and that debt on the student loan program lasts forever. Even a student files bankruptcy, that cost remains. And so I think the public is asking, should it cost that much, and what can we do differently? And one of the solutions for us will be, and for all colleges and universities, how we do things more efficiently, more effectively, greater rates of student success, not much increased cost, and some of that means is doing our degrees faster. So that's one of the things I want to really applaud the work that Spokane Community College is doing. It's innovation of doing a 1-year associate degree. That's a big deal. It's going to lead to more institutions doing those accelerated degrees. And the accelerated degrees won't be for every student, but some students will be ready to finish fast. Others say it's okay to go 2.5 years. Actually, universities are doing that. More and more are doing certificates and then adding the certificates up to the degree. So I think innovation that saves time and money and has students work ready. One of the things we hear, and we heard the state board just met at Spokane Falls, and they said one of an employer panel said one of the problems is they hire someone new, but that new person is quite ready to do the work, so it costs them, 3 to 5 to 6 months to get that person ready. So they're already short-handed, and then they get someone that they still have to train them on the job. And so I think those relationships between business and higher education have to be much more organized and efficient and effective.
So we received a number of questions in advance of today's town hall, and I have those with me, but I also want to encourage if there's anyone who is here or anybody online who would like to ask a question. It looks like we have a question over there. Wait till the microphone comes to you, please. Thank you.
A continuing education arm that puts on classes for Act 2. So if you could take any class that was designed around your interests in the continuing ed, what would your class be?
Well, my latest idea for me, not for the general population necessarily, is having just come back from a trip to Italy with Gonzaga University and its trustees as a member of that board. I just kept thinking, the language is so beautiful. I would, in my spare time, now that I'll have it, I'd like to learn Italian. I speak Spanish, so I understand a lot of Italian, but the pronunciation is very different. I thought I would love to take Italian, and just for the fun of it, for the fun of learning. So that's my thinking right now. Thank you for the
Hi, I work at SFCC and I have used the pool at SCC for years for water aerobics, and now the pool is closed down, and I asked Jim Fitzgerald if they're going to fix it, and he said they're thinking it's going to cost too much money. Do you know anything about that?
I do not know about the cost of fixing the pool, but I do know that much of the physical education activity stopped during the pandemic, but I think it's opening up. I don't know the specifics about the pool. I'm sure it can be fixed, and I agree with you that we need to fix it and hope that there's a. I'll check with Jim Fitzgerald on that. I don't know the details of that.
We also have President Brockbank.
Yeah, but President Brockbank probably knows about that cost, or.
Yeah, if you can take the microphone.
Or,
and
so
also,
someone can take the
Vice
microphone.
President Martin is here too,
Okay.
so we can get that question answered in.
I almost got to dump that off on the Vice President. Yeah, so the pool is closed down because of repairs, just outdated, completely outdated. And we've been making some kind of analysis on the use and how much student use it gets versus employee use. And at this time, it's kind of closed indefinitely because of the overall long cost of that. And I'll be frank with you, the outlook on that is not good on what will be the end result of that. But we'll publicly discuss that as well going forward. But for now, it's going to be closed indefinitely.
Thank you for the question. Other questions?
Yes. First of all, Dr. Johnson, thank you for your many, many contributions to our college. You're much appreciated. I know that at your heart, the legacy of our lodge is with you, and I was wondering if you could take a moment and elaborate what you would like to see the lodge become. The
Elaborate
lodge.
on which part? On the lodge?
Yes.
Yes. Thank you for that question, Alan. I have been in discussions with our Board of Trustees and the members of the Cabinet about, the lodge and its history, its military history, and the work that we are doing with our native tribes to ensure that we recognize their contributions and honor their culture. And so with the authority of the Board of Trustees and discussion among the Cabinet, I have communicated with members of tribal councils to let them know that the plan for the lodge, long-term, and working with them, would be to make the lodge a Native American cultural center. As you know, many of our tribes, we have many tribes in our region. Spokane is the home, the native home of the Spokane people. So they expect a prominent role in the conversations. But as you heard from the land acknowledgement, we have other tribes in our area. So the plan is, again, the tribal council members know, and to include the tribal council members in advising us so that we jointly say which artifacts, what designs, and so forth that in fact honor the culture, not that we would go along and make a lot of recommendations, say, here's the plan, now would you bless it? We feel like they have to be a part of that. At the same time, the lodge has a rich history in Spokane and Community College of Spokane, and I have to give a lot of credit to Alan Rathbone, who has done some research on it. He knows a lot, and I just am so appreciative of his efforts. And for example, something that I learned that I'm sure few people know is that Clark Gable visited the lodge and spent time there dancing in 1941. Now, you know, half of you are, you know, 1941 is like ancient times. You have no idea what happened then. But we have one of our members of the Board of Trustees, for example, a Trustee Thu, who went to a dance there. So at one time in a more recent history, it was kind of a place to be. You know, it's right on the river. It apparently had a beautiful patio. And so it has been used as a cultural center in other ways. So beyond its role as a military building associated with the, you know, the Army, I think it was, at the time, it's had many uses in our community and quite the place to be. I think proms were held there and dignitaries of different kinds. And again, for those of you who of this generation, Clark Gable's like not someone famous, but for people of my generation and others, it's like he was a really famous person, and to think that he was in Spokane and at a dance is kind of a big deal. But to go back to the question is, the work ahead will be obviously to fix the old building that it is, and it has all kinds of infrastructure things like heating and cooling and stairs that, you know, but the design itself and then the artifacts we will do jointly with the tribes, and that will take time. We want to honor their advice, their work, and then also the trustees have asked that we acknowledge the role that the lodge had it was a building for the military officers. So having that, it's part of the history, so we will have that you know, recorded as well. So the work will take time, and I think it's the tribe's response to our invitation to be a part of was very positive, and they were happy that we were doing that recognition. And then the work has begun. In fact, I want to credit the members of the CCS cabinet, including Carolyn Casey and the presidents and our diversity officers, to look at how do we go about ensuring that we get the tribes involved, each of them, and that we recognize the Spokane tribe's prominence, and then that we get advice, and then, you know, it will roll out in its time. And of course, that'll be work for the new chancellor, the acting chancellor, as well as the permanent chancellor. It'll happen over some time. And of course, the cost, you know, there's cost to one, repairing an old building that needs a lot of just basics, and then of having a new place that really honors our tribes. And some community colleges in our state have done a beautiful job of that. Peninsula College has done that. Skagit Valley College has done that. So I think there's really hope for us to do something that honors our history, our Native history. So thank you for the question, Alan.
Thank you, Dr. Johnson.
Yeah. Yes, ma'am. There's a question up here.
Wait till we get a microphone, please. It's coming to you.
Is there a goal for the timeline on that? For the lodge timeline?
Oh, the time, well, we honor the Native people's time and their deliberation, so we don't want to say, now the infrastructure piece, you know, fixing the electricity or the water or the sewer, or you know, the things that have to be done that are kind of the bones of the building, we can work on and do a bidding. I want to give credit to John Gillette that suggested we get a consultant that would tell us what does that, you know, just repairing an old building, what's the cost of that? And then a later phase would be then consultants that would help us with the actual design, but that's where we need the Native American tribes' input, and we don't want to have a plan that we present to them. We want them to help us develop that portion. So the time is really, we don't have, we're so used to always having like, well, we're going to do this in 6 months, and I think we kind of have to go with the flow of the tribal decision making. And a little bit more complicated because it's not a single tribe, it's multiple tribes, and they have their own agreements, so we want to honor all that. So thank you for the question, though. It's going to be one of those multiple steps in getting it done. And I do want to add also, because it's important and shows the significance of it, I'm very thankful and pleased that not only that our trustees agreed this is a good idea, but we have the Senate President, Senator Andy Billig, who has agreed to co-chair with us with that council advisory body, and so that it'll be good to have the Senate leader from our area be in support of this effort. So I'm excited about that. Thanks for the question.
Erin, do you have any questions from the online viewers at this point? There you go. Yeah.
We have quite a few folks online, but no questions in the chat yet at this time.
So if you're watching this online, please feel free to add questions into the chat, and we'll make sure they get answered. A number of the advanced questions we got were about the transitions that are happening at CCS and the transitions for you. We had a question for you. When you look back at your 12 years at the community colleges of Spokane, what stands out to you as some of the highlights of accomplishments or things that have happened during your time here?
Oh, so many good things. First of all, many of the members of the cabinet that have had us, including you, Carolyn, but just a lot of new colleagues that have joined our system, very talented colleagues. We've been able to promote a lot of talented people that were here and moved into different roles, and our cabinet is full of those folks. I'm just seeing Carolyn, I'm seeing Grace, and I'm seeing Dr. Hunt, and Dr. Brockbank and Dr. Messina, just lots of good people that are, and many more. Jenny Martin, I can't see everyone. Lisa Haltelan, and just really talented folks who are here. And but what I would say, some of the really exciting things is when I came to Spokane, I'd come from Denver, and I'd helped launch Community Colleges of Colorado Online, and that was system-wide launch of e-learning. This was way back when. And Spokane had very little online. We did have it, but it was individual faculty who taught like a class online. And what Colorado had done is to have degrees online. And so that was really what I had hoped would happen here. Classes are good, but degrees are better. And so that was the emphasis. And we had a little bit going on in really what I would say over the 12 years, and I give full credit to our faculty who teach online, our instructional designers who help the faculty. Our e-learning program is the finest in the state. And we know this because the results of our students who learn online equal the learning that takes place in the classroom. And we have exceptional faculty, so the quality of our instruction is really good, and it's also equally good online. And that's a huge statement. That is not the case for many online programs. So that's one area where, took what was here, but really grew it. So that's one thing that I really appreciate. We did a lot of consolidation in the early years, and that wasn't, to most of you, that wasn't a lot of fun, because we used to have an Institute for Extended Learning that had its own CEO and business officer, and just all deans and vice presidents and all. However, the functions were a lot of what colleges do. A comprehensive community college does outreach and does corporate training, and so it really was folded into the two colleges. The IEL kind of was merged into SCC, and then the Pullman campus of the IEL was merged into Spokane Falls. It saved us a lot of money, and it was in 2010 there had been a budget reduction, and we would have had a lot of layoffs and all, but by making that reorganization, we prevented layoffs, and it really got us kind of right-sized. And then, of course, the Pullman campus of Spokane Falls is outstanding, doing great work, growing. Our outreach campuses that SCC has oversight. All the programs at SCC are available, so it really was the right move. It was a hard thing to do and not necessarily popular, but it was the right thing, and it positioned us well. Some of the other things were just really I feel like the growth of our foundation. We've been able to really, with a great director, to raise a lot of money, and awareness by the community of all the many things we do. During the time here, we've launched a number of at the college level, and with great faculty, a number of applied baccalaureates. So really a lot of changes in the work that has happened over the last decade.
Switching gears a little bit, we also got a question about enrollment, and everybody hears talk about enrollment and trying to retain the students we have, recruit new students. We don't often hear about how it's going statewide, and are our challenges we're facing the same across the state, or how are we doing in comparison?
Enrollment is a huge topic, and it's a topic for community colleges and universities across the country. Across the country, every institution is facing some. Community colleges have been impacted more because many of the students we serve are either may have income problems or transportation problems, or because we serve so many adults. They have families, they have children, they have jobs, and trying to keep it all, it has impacted community college enrollments more than university enrollments. However, everyone's down, some. And the big challenge now is, I truly believe that we will not ever go back to the kind of learning that took place before, where everything was in class, in the classroom at a certain time, and everyone had to show up on campus, and every employee had to be, on the ground, on campus. I think it truly is a new world of work and a new world of learning. I would say that Community College of Spokane is fairly well positioned. We do have a slight decline yet. We're not at the pre-COVID levels, but we've gone up considerably. The dual enrollment, the students from high school to college, that has continued to grow, and at Spokane Falls in particular. The businesses need us desperately. The state board had a panel yesterday, and they're all saying, we need employees, so they want us to keep doing the work. I think steps we've taken will help us, but we can't take our eye off the ball. The challenges that lie ahead will continue to be the public questioning the value of higher education and the cost. And then I think all of you know the demographics. We are at a 100-year low of a birth rate. So our birth rates have been declining. Families like mine, I come from a family of 6 children. Well, many families don't have 6 children anymore. But it's gone down so much that we're 100-year low. And all the demographers are projecting we're going to stay low. So really, we have to look at who is born this year, and then, in 18 years, they're going to be ready for college. But that's a long way out. So in the meantime, what are we doing? How do we stay relevant? And the big answer is, how do we retain more students? Once they decide to come and sign up and go through all those steps, how do we keep them until they finish so they can move on? And so big emphasis on retention. I think this gives us an opportunity to really recognize the great work going on with guided pathways. And I have to give a shout out in particular to Spokane Falls. I think you've heard they're really doing top-notch work. Both colleges are working on it. Spokane Falls was among the first that implemented guided pathways and got a $500,000 from the state. But Spokane Falls is #1 in its progress. So I said, we want Spokane Falls to stay #1, and we want Spokane at Community College joined a few years later, I think a couple years later, so to also get up there. And we need that, the retention of the students and the progress to the next level. So,
do we have any questions from our online folks? Okay, are there any questions in the audience right now? Yep, we've got one there.
Hello, so I'm going to be running the social media. I'm a new employee, so I was wondering how you're working towards targeting those families that are stay at home with their kids, or the Running Start students, the high schoolers. How would you like to target those people for higher enrollment?
How to reach them, is that your question, how to reach them? Well, there are so many ways, but I know it isn't always the traditional way. I would say that your department, Marketing and Outreach, does a phenomenal job of featuring students of different backgrounds, different ages. And one of the things we know is that also going out to communities so they interact with us. And one of the statistics from the state board meeting today that's a really troubling one is that the state of Washington has the best financial aid available for students. And $60 million that the state had available didn't get used. 60 million. So think about how many students that need help could have used it. And so the state board asked and questioned, challenged colleges to say, how are we getting the word out to students and families about the financial aid available, and how to help them fill out the form, the FAFSA form that is complicated and too long. It's a federal form, but how do we help them know money's available, you're eligible to get it, sign up and get it. And so that, to me, is that question that they raised is a really legitimate one. I think our Marketing and Outreach Department does wonderful work. And what are the new ideas to get out to the community level? Maybe meet at churches, maybe meet at community centers, maybe meet, so to kind of directly help the students rather than, I know many young people rely especially on social media and other things, but maybe other ways to help the parents feel comfortable with the form and filling out, all kinds of information that maybe they feel awkward saying, because they ask about income and all kinds of things that maybe the families don't want to share. And so kind of helping them say that there's no risk, this will help you, and so forth. So that would be one idea I have. And I hope you'll come up with ideas yourself.
Thank you. So Spokane has a very high percentage of adults who have not completed college. Mm-hmm. And you said earlier that there's a lot of uncertainty right now where people are questioning the value of a college education. What would you say to a prospective student who's considering enrolling at the community colleges of Spokane?
What I would say to them is to talk to other students who maybe have a similar background that were kind of not sure of the value or should they go to work, and the difference that education has made in that student's trajectory, because they end up with better jobs, better pay, more security. And what the state board had heard was that many students see, well, if they can get a job that pays $18 an hour, why should they go to a community college and get a job that maybe won't pay them as much? So I think it's an ability to really communicate. But what I would say to the student is your life will be better and your opportunities for advancement will be better with that degree. And I think we have a lot of, I'm one of those first generation students. Neither of my parents was college educated. And they wanted us to, but I have to say, all of my brothers and we are college educated. So in one generation, it was a huge leap. And I think that story can happen over and over and over. So I would say it's worth it, so do it. But then we've got to help them do the forms and all.
Great, thank you.
With you having 2 months left, do you have any projects or things that you maybe were hoping to accomplish that you haven't yet, that you're going to?
Well, the lodge is something that kind of will take time. So, but I hope to be around to see it, and have great confidence. I actually feel very fortunate in getting many things accomplished. Probably the one thing that we started and then it didn't stay was an honors college. I think that sometimes people think that students who choose a community college maybe weren't as strong a student, or maybe they had failed before, and some have. But I also want to say that the students that choose community colleges are equally smart, equally talented, equally able to move into positions. And so to me, the honors distinction is just something that recognizes students who are really accomplished academically, and that we should invite that. And we piloted a program with an outside vendor, and our faculty who taught in it were outstanding, and then we thought like we shouldn't have an outside vendor, we should do it ourselves, but then we didn't go back to do that ourselves. And so I hope that the presidents and the new chancellor will move forward with, providing that opportunity to students, because it's a recognition and celebration of achievement, and that's what I think community colleges are all about. Thank you for the question, a really good one.
So I have one question I got that deserves a very short answer. If you used one word to describe CCS, what would it be?
I'd say remarkable. Remarkable, yeah. I truly, truly feel that this is an exceptional place of people who care and are talented and care so deeply for our students. I think that's what distinguishes us. Our faculty are all about the students and their success, and they'll jump hoops for the student. Same thing, our classified employees, and certainly our leadership group. So I said it's a remarkable place to work and be, and I hope you feel the same pride that I do in you.
So I don't know if this question came from the same person, but it's along the same line. If you were to use one word to describe yourself, what would it be?
That's a little bit harder. I would say I'm a student. A student of people, a student of processes, a student of life, a student of, interactions, and even a student of politics, as sad as that can be right now. But I think, and the point with that is, I think there's always more to learn, and I hope I never stop learning. That's why I think like Italian appeals to me right now. It's like, okay, I don't know that, I'll learn something new. And so I'm a student.
Thank you. Anything from we've got one question behind you, Erin. Thank you. You have to have it kind of close, like right up.
Nope, still not on.
Cool.
Hello. Good afternoon. My question is, so our mission is to provide all students an excellent education that transforms their lives and expands their opportunities. What advice would you give colleagues new and seasoned to connect and to live out that mission?
To connect on the purpose, our main purpose. One is get to know and value each other, because what makes CCS really strong and keeps us focused is we've got to work as a team. And one of the distinguishing things about CCS is people work well together. We respect each other, we value each other. We have different experiences, come from different backgrounds. We honor that our students come from different backgrounds, but we have to really work together on behalf of the students. And what I really greatly admire about our Board of Trustees and all of you here is we care about our students. We care deeply about them. And we've got to keep that, that's the reason we're here. That's why we have these jobs. It's about the students. And it starts with being able to work with each other and respecting different ideas, not doing things the way we've always done it, and being able to also challenge each other in a respectful way. All about the students, though. Thank you for your question.
So we mentioned at the beginning that we're here today because surveys showed that people wanted more opportunities for more communication, different ways of communicating. During a time of transition, lots of people feel uncertain about what's happening and how to keep track of what's happening and where will they get information, how will they know what's next for CCS. What advice do you have for people working at CCS as we go through the transition of you retiring and the search for a new chancellor?
Well, one thing is I would invite and thank all of you who are here and online is stay engaged. We have attempted many ways of communicating. I know that many of you get a lot of email, and that we have a really wonderful publication on the inside. And sometimes we hear like it's just too much information. So we're trying, I know that our communications office is trying to say, okay, how do you want to receive communication? If emails is too much, then is it meetings? Is it, fireside chats? Is it, what are the different ways? However, if you just tune out, then it's hard to reach and share the information. So I would say, I know that Greg Stevens is a wonderful communicator, so when he takes over in January, if you think you should have, he should be doing these kinds of chats or other ways, he'll do that because he really cares deeply about the mission and about the students and about you. And the board will ensure that that happens. But I would say stay engaged, don't tune out, because then it's hard to really help share information. I would invite you to say, what other ways? Small meetings. I know that presidents do an exceptional job of sending weekly updates on what's going on at their campus. And it takes a lot of time and effort to say, okay, what are the highlights? So that's one. Then we have a district one, but that's all kind of email. The other mechanism is meetings, and I know sometimes we feel like, oh, we go from meeting to meeting to meeting. So if you have other ideas about how to communicate and interact, we have a lot of representative groups. I think we meet with our Association of Higher Education, our faculty. We meet once a month, and then we hope and expect that then those officers share information out that they get with their public. Same thing with our Washington Federation of State Employees. We meet with them, and then they have representatives. So we hope the information goes from those representatives back out to the field. So give us, feedback about which of the channels work best. But I would say, be engaged. Don't tune out, because we need your involvement. We need your commitment. We need your enthusiasm, and we need your talent for our students to benefit.
Right. And one thing I just would piggyback on what you just said is that later this week, a web page will go live that has the information about the Chancellor search process, and that website has all the information about the Chancellor profile, and the trustees and the search consultants plan to put regular updates on there, and you'll find that under the Working for CCS part of the website, and throughout the whole process there'll be updates there. So if you don't want to read all the other things we send you, you can always at your own time go looking for that. Yeah. I'm curious, what advice would you have for someone who is chosen as the new chancellor for the community colleges?
Well, the one thing I would say is take a real close look at that strategic plan, because that was developed when, with two of our trustees, the chair and the vice chair, were on the committee. And then we had a representative group, as we always do, and we came up with a brief, focused strategic plan with our priorities. And that plan really is what the trustees approved, that's our direction. And it starts with students first. What a concept, students first. That should be our leading thing. So I think that a new chancellor must keep that focus that the board approved. And then I would say, secondly, get to know this amazing group of people. It's a big team, but a very talented team, a very diverse team, and getting to know the strengths that you represent collectively. And then thirdly, that colleges have very strong leadership and a very active leadership, and they're doing great work. Obviously, they have the same policies as our board, but they have also their distinctiveness, and that's important to keep as well. So I would say meet the challenges that lie ahead, but value the students, value the people, implement that plan.
Great. And I got a number of different questions about people wondering what you're most looking forward to in retirement.
Well, let's see. Other than learning Italian, that's the one decision I've made. My husband and I had planned on getting a place in Tucson, Arizona, and becoming snowbirds and spending a little, the cold winter months there. I think that's still on the table, but haven't quite decided. I do have family all over in New Mexico, of course, Colorado, Arizona, and a few in Texas. So, being close to all those nieces and nephews would be good.
Great. Just checking back out here with the audience, if anybody has questions. I see, is there one way in the back, or are you stretching?
I see
way back there.
I see a hand, but I can't see that far.
Is that John Norman back there? Yes, John Norman has a question
wonderful.
for you.
You could see that it was John.
As part of the instructional staff, I want to thank you for your contributions and what you do. Part of our global awareness is I try and make sure that the students know what's going on at large on the campus and the difference that people make, and that there are a lot of people that are there supporting them in their education. And I thank you for doing that. That's made a difference. My question is probably a funner question. Do you have a hero, a mentor, or someone from your youth that you'd like to tell us about?
Do I have a hero?
A hero or a mentor that you
A mentor. You know, I've had so many mentors over my career that I have to be so grateful for. And I have to say that some of the heroes too, and of course I would say my dad was my hero, first of all. But the people that have mentored me, I have shared with others that when I went from this little bitty, elementary and secondary school experience, and then moved to Denver from that arena to go, to both University of Colorado and then to teach in the Denver public schools. The high school that I went to as a teacher was like, it was huge, and I could think, oh, this is like a college. But that school had a female principal, and I thought, I didn't even know that principals, there were female principals, because in my little environment, I had never seen a woman principal. And this was this huge high school, and LaRue Belcher, and she mentored me. And I said, it was before I even knew what the word meant, but she really did. And then the second principal was also a female, and I think that's what got me into that track. And in my long career, I was a high school principal, and so those were some of the people that I really admired. And so a lot of women in those positions inspired me to think of like, well, I could do that. I could do that. And we stayed in touch. And also in little schools, you stay in touch with your teachers forever. So the teachers at my little elementary and high school career, they were so happy when I became a teacher because I'd been a good student. So I think all those connections, I've had many, many. Thank you for the question, though. I have had so much support, and then lots of public figures that I really look up to that have been, I write about them every now and then where I'll insert a quote, but just people who do good and believe in us, believe in the human spirit, and believe in America. That matters to me.
Great. Any other questions out there? Any questions from our online people, Erin?
Not online.
Pardon me?
No, nothing in the chat online right now.
Okay, great, great. We also, in our audience today, I won't put them completely on the spot. I don't know if they're here because they have a question or they're just watching, but we have two of our trustees. Yes. We have Trustee Beth Thu and Trustee Mike Wilson who have joined us today, and if you have any questions, you can ask questions too, not to put you on the spot. So this is your last town hall.
Yes.
One of the challenges that CCS is facing is we've gone through the Great Resignation, we've gone through COVID, we've kind of had a lot of staff transitions. What do you think everybody at CCS can do to help attract and retain fellow employees?
Well, I think the teamwork, when you see people that like each other, respect each other, help each other out, it's fun to work in a supportive environment. It's not fun if you go and feel like you can't trust anyone or no one helps you if you have a question. So I'd say keep that. I think that's one of the gifts that CCS has. And I think it'll help us endure and face many challenges. So that's one thing. Mm-hmm. And the other is, again, just be engaged in your department and your division, and your thinking and your ideas. Like today, questions matter. They make a difference. So I think just keeping those doors open for each other and always keeping our goal on, it's all about the students, and what we do models for them what a work environment is, or models for them what, how they can behave. So you're role models, and new employees see that. And I think that's the perception that the public has about CCS. So keep up the great work is what I'd say.
Great. That's a great spot to end on. I hope you'll join me in thanking Chancellor Johnson for today.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Thank you all very much. And a special thanks to our trustees who are here, and they go meeting after meeting. And remember, they're volunteers. Get no money, no pay. They just show up and support our students and you. So isn't that amazing? So let's give them Trustee Thu, Trustee Wilson. Thank you. Thank you, Carolyn.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. And thank you, Obed, way up there. Yeah, Obed.
And that's a wrap.
Yeah, thank you so much.